today's webinar is social media marketing because customers look. I know a good many of you on the call today were actually in attendance for our first webinar, so this one will be a great addition to that. But no worries, if you weren't on the first one, you will be able to catch right along. Would like to thank our webinar sponsors for 2011. They are Alliance Health Plans, Peachtree Benefit Group, and Red Clay Interactive. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our presenter. Our presenter is Lee Brogdon-Culberson of Professional Mojo, and she is the founder and partner there, and she really heads up all the sales, strategy, and marketing for their clients, which in their world is everything from strategy, content generation, search marketing, campaigns, and they've dealt with a wide variety of industries. So I know we are in for a treat for her today to kind of learn a little bit more in depth how we can kind of build our online portfolios and create some positive online presence, and most importantly, learn how we can rank well and what that really all means for those of us who may not know. So, Lee, without further ado, I'm going to give controls over to you.
Wonderful. While Rebecca is doing that, I want to thank everyone and also thank the Georgia Chamber of Commerce for having this kind of learning and sharing it with their members and with the chambers. And I see my screen blinking. Here we go. Show my screen. All right. Everybody can see that? Great.
Yep.
Wonderful. So once again, my name is Lee Brogdon-Culberson. I'm with Professional Mojo. We're a Georgia company, of course, and do business all across the U.S. And in the last session, we're going to hop right to it. In the last session, we kind of laid the landscape to ensure we were all on the same page. You received an overview, if you will, of the social media universe, who was using what tools, and heard a little bit about how you can use them. Then, at the end of that, we pulled it all together with a simple, effective editorial calendar to help you create consistent, unified messaging across your channels. Now, I hope that was the big takeaway for you last time. I got a lot of wonderful feedback from folks where this is kind of new to them. They've heard about it, they've tried it, they dabbled in it, but they were kind of struggling with how to get their arms around it. And that was a great takeaway. For those of you who sent feedback saying, hey, this was great, but I kind of know what I'm doing, then we're going to take that next step in the direction of a few tactics. As always, since we only have an hour, we've chosen to focus on 4 key areas because each of these areas could be a 5-day seminar all on its own. In this session, we're going to delve deeper into some of the tactical aspects of creating a positive online portfolio for your company and organization because people look and they want to see relevant, useful activity. But more important, and this again, you're going to hear about when we talk about content and engagement probably a bazillion times, bazillion being a technical term, a bazillion times during today's workshop. They want to engage in a real online relationship and dialogue with your organization. Now, isn't that weird? For those of us who are over a certain age, which I won't say what that certain age might be, we remember when, you know, networking and word of mouth and person-to-person sales and communication and relationship building was really based on the one-to-one, in-person stuff. When I say one-to-one, I mean in-person stuff. You know, and then the email came along, and we've always had radio and direct mail, but now you really can and should be establishing those relationships online. And let me tell you what, those can be as meaningful, believe it or not. We have folks who only talk to us on Facebook, and they're great customers, but that's their preferred method. So we're going to talk a lot about how to establish and engage in real online relationships. Now, I think that Rebecca sent this out. Matter of fact, I know she did. But if you haven't jotted this down, please do so. We had some pre-homework there. We asked you about what was going on with Facebook, how you're tracking results now, what you're doing to ensure that you're really getting some ROI, and then a couple of quick comments about content. This morning, we also uploaded your slides, so you'll be able to reach them as well. So let's go ahead and hop to it. And as we go ahead and chat today, please feel free to go on out to our Facebook page, which is Professional Mojo, and post out there if you see a tidbit of information that's particularly useful to you. And you know what? That's one of the things we're talking about is sharing your content across multiple channels and going out to other pages that are relevant to you. It's going to be very helpful. We've got over 2,000 folks in our community there. We've got 4,000 folks in our Twitter community. And you know what? They're here for you. So as we move through or after today's workshop, go on out there and post. That's cool with us, and hopefully you'll get some interest. Okay, so what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about 4 specific things. First, how does Facebook rank your content and serve it up? Now, we're focusing on Facebook because that's the topic we heard most about from you in the feedback. I heard folks, sending emails to us and pinging us saying, well, you know what, we use Facebook, we're really not getting a lot out of it. So we're going to talk a little bit today, actually quite a bit, about the Edgerank system. Now, the interesting thing about that as we talk about it is because the great quality content that we want you to use out on Facebook and the type of interactions that we want you to use in engagement on Facebook are things that with some tweaks you could extend to, say, your blog. Because if you're doing surveys and polls on Facebook, you know what? That's a great tool for you to use on your blog too. If you're searching for meaningful, relevant content to put out on Facebook, you know what? That's something you could use on your blog too. People are looking for value. So we're going to take an in-depth look at Facebook. I'm going to show you some live Facebook pages and talk about how you can begin to move the needle a little bit. Second, how do you track results? Metrics, schmetrics. And if there's any data folks on the phone, their eyes just twitch. Let me tell you what. We track metrics. You track metrics. There are bazillions, again, hundreds of metrics to track. We love them, we track them, but the real question is, did your efforts move the needle when it came to leads, sales, donors, volunteers, members? We're going to talk a little bit about tracking today as well and get you started thinking about what you could be tracking and what it could mean to your organization. Then third, how do you take what you've done when you begin to get 500, 600, 2,000, 5,000 people into your community? How do you then motivate them to act? What are people looking for and what drives them to your community? Once there, what do they want and how can you give it to them and then call them to act? And then at the very end, if time permits, we're going to talk a little bit more about good content distributed freely across all of your channels and what that means to have consistent content and how that can improve search engine optimization. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I want to dive right into Facebook because like it or hate it, and people have very strong opinions about it, it's really not going away anytime soon. There are a lot of other great channels, and you should be utilizing them. But again, since we've had so many questions about this from this group, we're going to show you how to improve your rankings on Facebook. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Since Facebook made all of their super-duper changes, if you notice, when you go out to your home page, you've got now some what they call top stories at the very top of your news feed. Now, there are some things you can do to impact that in terms of what you see on your own profile, but I want you to think about this from your organization's perspective. You have a business page. You're pushing out content that's important to your business, your nonprofit, whatever organization you have. So what are some things that you can do to help yourself to ensure that your content pops up more often at the top of that news feed? Because that's really what we're talking about. It makes no difference, again, if you have 20,000 people in your community, if your content that you're pushing out, nobody sees it. So it really is about quality of the people in your community. It's about the quality of your content and then you investing in ensuring that your content reaches those people, right? That's the key, reaching the people. So I'm going to go on out to my Facebook page, and when I click on it, who knows what you might see. I have some weird friends. All right, so again, here we go. So we have 29 news stories, and here's the top story. Well, this is kind of an annoying story to me. I love Mark, that's true. But let me tell you why it's the top story, and we're going to break this down. It's got a picture. It's got some likes. We've got a comment. There's a like on the comment. People have shared it. So there, I've given you some activity that surrounds this. So let's break it down. Facebook's Edgerank system determines what content pops up to the top of that news feed. And I want you to follow me a little bit on this because it's going to seem a tiny bit technical, but it's going to make a big difference because if you have a product launch, if you have a big event coming up, if you have something you want to draw attention to, if you've got a huge end-of-year sale, if you're getting ready for Black Friday and all the good stuff, if you're a retailer, then you need to be investing in improving your ranking on Facebook now before you push out that sale, before you push out that product launch, because none of that makes any difference if they don't see it. So Facebook ranks it on basically three things: affinity, weight, and time decay. Once again, this is in your slide. And so your ranking for a particular piece of content you plop out there is calculated by Facebook with an algorithm by putting those three things together. So let's break them down and see how you can invest in each of those things to help you get your content from your organization more widely distributed to your community members, because that's what we're talking about. Here's affinity. The more you interact, and this is a definition basically from Facebook, the more you interact with certain individuals, the higher your affinity to that individual and the higher likelihood that you will see their update. So let's put that into reverse. The more your brand page interacts with people in your community, the more likely it is that they will see updates from your brand page. Let me say that again. The more often your brand interacts with people in your community, the individuals, the more likely it is that they'll see your stuff in their news feed. So if you take that and extrapolate that out to what you're seeing here, Mark and I see his stuff all the time on my news feed, and that's because we're Chatty Cathy over on my profile. Now, also, if I go out here and you see stuff from like anybody over here, because there's probably 50 pages over here that we actually are in our community, in the Professional Mojo community, that we either consult on or manage. Well, those are going to pop up. Why? Because we're interacting with them all the time. The same thing is true for your brand. So if you're just pushing content out onto your page, and you know who you are, if that's it, okay? If you're pushing content out on your page, but you're not interacting with them, if you're not commenting on that, if you're not responding back to them, then you're not getting the affinity rankings that you deserve. All right, so for example, if you have an old acquaintance whose Facebook profile you haven't visited in a couple of years, they would have a very low affinity ranking. If you have a significant other whose profile you visit every day, their stuff is more likely to pop up on your newsfeed. Very similar with brands. The second part of this, and then we're going to see how it all fits together, is weight. Weight and interaction in the Facebook world are similar because this category is dependent on the number of likes and comments that your update has received. So it combines what the item is. Facebook looks to see what the item is that you're posting and how it's being interacted with. And that's apologies to my grammar teacher from second grade because it's a preposition. So as for the what, photos, videos, and links are considered to have the highest weight. Let me say it again. Photos, videos, and links are generally considered to have the highest weight. In other words, If a fan views a video on your page, this scores more points on the Edgerank than if they simply visit your page. If you post photos, and again, we're going to take a look at this live, those pieces of information, those pieces of content are more likely to pop up in the news feed and give you more exposure. More exposure means more people seeing your stuff, seeing a discount coupon, printing off a discount coupon, responding to a membership request, responding to a specific adoption plea if you are an animal shelter. You see what's going on. So that's waste. The third thing is time decay. Now, time decay refers to how recent the item is. This makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Old news drops out of the news feed, so newer items are more likely to appear. So thinking about this, you post your links, comments, and photos at times when your users are most likely to be logged on to Facebook. Let me say that again. If you're posting at 10 a.m. in the morning and you've looked at your Facebook metrics, but your people really aren't reading articles until 4 p.m. in the afternoon, by the time they log on at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, your stuff is really old news, my friend. Time decay has taken its toll on your piece of content, and it's dropping off the news feed as fast as it can. So the value and relevance of the post decays over time as other new content is published. This is particularly important for the likes and the fans in your community who have a whole lot of friends and who like a whole lot of pages on their own. Now, if they only have 100 friends and they only like, 10 pages, you're more likely still to be languishing up there in the news feed somewhere. So once again, let's just take one more quick look at this. Affinity is how often you interact. The more you interact, the more they interact with your brand page, the more likely it is that your stuff will pop up. Usually that's members, donors, people complaining if you've got a service issue. So you're going to have to reach out and make an investment in interacting with them. Second is weight. That's how many interactions are attached to this and the type of content. Videos, photos, links outweigh just posting something on there. Next, time decay, the value and relevance of the post. So how does this work then? How can you use this? So once again, increasing your Edgerank is an investment with some time and strategy. Let's walk through it. If you have a launch, sale, or event coming up, you may want to increase your ranking prior to launch to ensure you receive maximum exposure. This actually is one of the first things that we do when we take over a Facebook community for a brand and we begin to work it. We want to see kind of where we think they might be popping up, what they've been posting, and then we begin to try and improve that ranking before we roll anything big out. So you want to improve your affinity score. So here are some specific tactical things that you can do, real live results taken from one of our client pages. First, invest in your engagement. We love to use the survey and poll tool. If you haven't used that out on Facebook, I really encourage you to do that. It's very straightforward. You'll see question right here, and you can add your poll options. And I always allow anyone to add options. That's always a lot of fun to see what people put in there. And so what you might want to do is ask a few key questions or surveys to get things rolling. In this case, we were focusing on this client with long-distance moves because that's what they do. So as well as other type of storage. So we said, hey, newsletter has an article on 4 ways to meet new people when you move to a new location. What's your number one way? Well, let me tell you what. We had almost 500 responses on the poll. You can see people were allowed to add their own stuff in there. We only put a couple. We added like volunteer, sign up for classes, but walk up to someone and start a conversation was not one that we added. There were 11 more down there, and some of them actually were pretty hilarious about what people, I guess, might do to meet new people in an organization. So that was a great way to get started. So that's thing one. Another tactical thing you can do is ask direct questions and monitor impressions, comments, and shares. Now, and remember, this is about engaging with your people and having a little bit of fun, not just talking about yourself the whole time. Boy, that's pretty lame. Nobody wants that. I don't want that. I will hide your news feed, hide you from my news feed if that is the case. So we mix stuff that's relevant with stuff that's just a lot of fun to engage. In this case, as you can see, we had the multiple whammy, right? We had some fun, Little Wednesday trivia fun. October's National Cookie Month. If you didn't know that, you still have time to go out and get your double stuffed Oreos. What's your favorite type of cookie? Now, a lot of you on the phone might be going, well, Lee, unless I'm a bakery, the cookie really has nothing to do with my business. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care. What you want to do is engage your folks. That means talking about yourself some, talking about your value and your messaging, but doing things that they enjoy also. So then we had a photo, right, of chocolate chip cookies. Who doesn't like that? So that plopped the ranking up. And let me tell you, we had 2 shares, 32 people liked it. You can't even see everything here. We had over 12,000 impressions. That's the number of times that it popped up in someone's news feed. And there probably, I think there may have been 40 or 45 different comments with everybody saying what kind of great cookie they liked. And then we actually went in and posted as the page, as the brand, in here as well. So if someone said something that sounded really unusual, like, you know, coconut macadamia cookie, we said, wow, that's really great. So we commented on it as well. So use your polls and surveys. Ask direct questions and monitor the impressions, monitor the comments, monitor the shares. All of this improves your ranking. Here's another one. And again, this one was much more on topic. Tuesday trivia. This was just this past Tuesday. You know, in 2010, these 3 states were top moving states. You know, what do you think those states were? And then people guessed, you know, and you can see, and it just went on and on and on. And so lots of folks, again, interacting. Why? Because we're asking a question. So I ask you, when was the last time that you went out to your Facebook page or any of your communities, on your blog or on Twitter or anywhere else you have a community, a video question on YouTube, and ask them something that encouraged them to respond, whether it be trivia that's specific to what your industry is and your business, or just something fun like the October Cookie Month. So direct questions and direct responses from your brand driven to the post level are important, meaning we go out and click like on various things down here. If someone has a really cool profile picture, we'll tell them so. Hey, Susie, that's a great rockin' profile picture. And so it makes a big difference. Then we increase the number of postings of still photos and videos, right? We just talked about that. The weight score goes up again. And then finally, by providing relevant and timely content, you can make a big difference in your overall ranking. So once again, you go out, you put in some great photos. In fact, you can encourage your people who like your community to put in some great photos too. That's even better. But when they upload the photos, you need to comment on them. You need to like them. You need to encourage other people to do that. And I'm not talking about the contest where you put it up there and say, you know, the top number of likes wins a $20 gift card. That violates Facebook rules, by the way, even though it happens all the time. You could get your page shut down for that. I'm talking about not having to reward them here, but just saying, pop up your videos, you know, put up your photos. We also like caption contests for that purpose as well. So the weight score goes up again because of the type of content that we're posting. All right. Anything else I want to talk about that? Let me just see. I think that's it. I would say that as far as the cadence is concerned, in terms of how often you post, I want to add one thing here before we go on to thing 2, which is, again, you need to look at when people are looking at your content. You can do that by going to the Insights portion, which is now on the left-hand side of your nav bar, over on your page. It's right over here. So you can actually go into this and you can see all types of content and all types of metrics. When are people looking at it? What was the most read post? However many impressions. So all of those things are important to you, and you need to take a look and see. You know, look at this. Number of total likes, here's up, but this is the opportunity. So over 1 million people, isn't that number staggering? Over 1 million people are totally friends of the number of fans on our page. That is pretty shocking to me, even when I see that number. And then when you go down and you look at it, you're going to be able to see all sorts of stuff in terms of reach, how often people looked at it, and all of this helps you decide what content people are looking for in your particular community. You can't just post random stuff, folks. You need to post stuff that's meaningful to your particular business and is also meaningful to your fans. So that's pretty impressive stuff. And that's the kind of thing that will help you improve your ranking. So I'm going to take a drink right now of my Diet Coke, and then we're going to move to number 2. And Rebecca, now might be a good time to remind folks that if they have questions, I encourage them to go ahead and submit them. Rebecca's going to be gathering those up. If we don't have time to get to them today, since we have such limited time, she'll be glad, I'm sure, to forward those to us, or you can send them directly to us at info@professionalmojo.com, and we'll be glad to answer your questions. Hopefully your brains are spinning with all of the opportunities for you to improve engagement over on Facebook and in your other communities.
Definitely. And for those of you who aren't as familiar with GoToWebinar, if you expand kind of the box over to the right, towards the bottom you'll see a spot for questions and chat, and you can actually type straight into there and they will go back to us. So, or you're welcome to shoot an email, but you're welcome to do it during the presentation that way as well.
All right, wonderful. Okay, well, if that wasn't enough information in 25 minutes, we're going to go ahead and we still have a couple more things to cover as we're kind of digging into the tactics. So one of the top questions we receive, besides how can I get people in my community to look at my stuff, which we just talked about, some real specifics there, is, well, how do I know that it's working? And I have to tell you that if you're talking to folks, and I've heard this a lot, and they say, oh, social media can't be measured. You need to poke them with a point pencil, which is my first choice, but my partner says that I can't do that. So therefore, I just walk away if I can't poke them with a pointy pencil. Because you know what? There are some metrics that you can gather. And the fact is that all of us have businesses. Even if you're a nonprofit, you still have goals and objectives that you need to achieve in your organization. Even though we might be totally passionate about what we do, we're not all doing it just for our health. We might rather be laying on a beach in Fiji, I don't know. But we all desire something out of this, or we wouldn't be doing it. And that means you, and that's totally cool. So how can you begin to get your arms around this? Again, this is usually a 3-day workshop on its own, but I want to give you some tools to go back and begin thinking about what you need to look at. And this will be a great starting point for you, and that's my goal for you today. So first you need to determine what drives business for your organization. And isn't that an interesting question? When we sit down with folks, and I ask that, you'd be surprised how many leaders cannot answer it. They can't really put a finger on what it is that drives business. So then I have to ask questions like, where do your leads come from? How did you get them? What happened to them? And I begin to look at that downstream. You know, from an inbound marketing perspective, what are you doing right now? Which of those do you think are generating the most leads for you? And we ask some of that in the pre-homework. So you have to figure that out first, even before we get to the social media metrics. You kind of have to know where you are and what's working or not working, what you've been trying, before you can take this next step. So as we move on to some of the specific things that are kind of tactical, I really want you to go back and ask yourself this question and focus on that area of the pre-homework. You really will be glad later, even though you might be thinking that you don't want to do it now. It'll make a huge difference in knowing where to go. You've always heard that, right? You can't know where to go if you don't know where you are and where you've been. And this is exactly what we're talking about. So here's where some of the rubber meets the road. If metrics are new to you for social media, and they really are for a lot of folks, you know, they may think they've got a good handle on inbound marketing, but social media seems kind of soft and fuzzy around the edges to them. So this is from Brain Zooming, and it really is great, and I love it as a starting point. So if this is new for you, I would encourage you to look at quantitative and qualitative metrics. And this could be for any of your online communities. This could be for Facebook, it could be for Twitter, it could be for Foursquare, it could be for blogs, it could be all of those types of things. So this is a very useful, and I loved it when they did it, a very useful matrix. So a couple things I want to draw your attention to, because I don't want you to get so bogged down in the quantitative that you forget the qualitative. And people, that happens a lot. So let's talk about a couple of little things here, and the rest of this you can kind of see on your own. This kind of goes in order of what happens downstream in your inbound marketing sales cycle, inbound marketing cycle with social media. You know, what are you putting into it? And you've kind of heard that, right? Junk in, junk out. So what are you putting into it? Now, number of posts means you should be posting more. It just means how many are you posting? Are you being consistent? Is it at a time when your people are online, so you're not experiencing time decay? Or are you only posting once a week? I had this conversation just yesterday. They said, well, I was talking to an inbound marketing social media person, and they told me I only needed to post on Facebook, you know, once a week, maybe at most, oftentimes maybe just, you know, a couple times a month. And I was like, what? Get the pointy pencil out. Because we just talked about time decay. So if that's it, you know, the people who are on right when you post, they may see something, but then it's lost forever in the news feed. So take a look at that. And then the qualitative portion of that is going to be what kind of engagement is happening. So again, these are things that you can look for now, but I want you to consider positive or negative or neutral. Are people just simply liking, but they're not commenting? Then you need to ask them more questions. Are people not commenting at all? Then you're not posting the correct type of content. Really, I'm just telling you. You're posting stuff that's not of interest to them. You've heard probably in your leadership training about groupthink, and that's where we're all sitting around and we think we know our stuff, but we're not taking into consideration our customer, the end user, our community member. This is where that comes into play. Is there really buzz around, I don't like that word, but is there really activity surrounding your posts, your comments, your blog, your photos, your videos? What's really going on out there? Did they really retweet it? Did they talk about it? Did they ask you about it? Did they provide a caption for it? And then, and we're going to take a look at this on a graph, what happens as a result of that? Did you really get additional leads? Did you really get any sales because you posted a coupon out there? You posted a coupon along with a great testimonial about that particular product or service. Listen how it works. You get the coupon, get 20% off Service X. You couple that with a video that says, hey, I used Service X and I, have never been happier. It did X, Y, or Z for me. You put those two things, picture of the coupon that can be printed, along with the video testimonial. You tweet it out, you plop it up on Facebook, and then you drive them to a specific landing page on your website in order possibly to get to it and capture their information if you want to do it that way. So then the question is, how much of that turned into leads or sales? Were you able to handle customer service issues? This is one of those things where I think that social media is really overlooked. but yet I think that's an amazing return on investment and can provide real value to you. If you can answer their questions quickly and efficiently on Facebook or on Twitter, and that did not have a call coming into your call center or a time when your staff had to be on the phone, that's real value to you. So there are lots of creative ways and things that you can track, and these are going to be specific to your business, but this is a great place for you to start. So what does this look like downstream? Well, what we do is we create a timeline of a specific campaign. So I'm going to go back for a second where the coupon is concerned. And we overlay the social media component on the quantifiable metrics. So it looks a little bit like this. So this particular coupon campaign is going to go from May 24th to June 21st, as an example. And so this is, we have some benchmarks. How much traffic is coming to this landing page? And usually when you see spikes like this, and each of these dots, something's happening in the social media world. So we launched, we put the landing page up. Here is where the traffic of the landing page increased to X amount when we put the discount coupon info on Facebook. And then potentially what we did is we began a Twitter campaign. So you can see, oh, traffic went up when I did thing X. Or nothing happened here because we didn't do anything online. So what you need to do is put that timeline in place and say, I'm going to do this particular event, this particular launch, this particular campaign, this particular coupon, and that's going to give you some great insight into who is using what and how they're getting to your information. So let me show you how that looks again. So this is a 7-day free VIP membership campaign. And it was over, again, a specific period of time. We created that timeline. You guys can do very similar things. We created the messaging around it. And then we have a link. Facebook, and we put that on Facebook and other variations, with each has its own tracking link. And also we had it in direct mail and also with a QR code. And so that went to a specific landing page on the website. Now, a landing page is something that's made specifically for this particular campaign. And landing pages are critical and crucial to your inbound marketing efforts. You don't want to distract them when they get to your website. You want to give them exactly what they're looking for. Don't send them to your main website page. Send them to something that's specifically made for your particular marketing campaign. So, to the landing page. And so we're able to track all of that. Did it come from a click on Facebook? Did it come from the click on Twitter? Did it come because they scanned the QR code? You can even track all of that. So now you begin to see, oh, I can see the traffic. I see where it's coming from. And this is a very, very good starting point for you to see if all of this is really making any sense for you, and if it's making any difference, or as I call it, actually moving the needle when it comes to your organization. So those are some of the things. Let me go back this for a second. Right there. These are some of the things to start with. And as you begin to benchmark this, see where you are now, see what's happening, then you begin to overlay that on specific campaigns. Put the landing pages together, and then you're going to be able to get a better sense of. And as you mature in your inbound marketing and with your social media efforts, you're going to find other metrics that are meaningful to you. There are ways to track phone calls, for Pete's sake. You put a specific phone number on your contact page for a specific campaign. So when they call that number, then you know it came from a specific campaign or specific social media effort. So you really can wrap metrics around all of these things, but this is a great, great way to start. Okay, let me look at my time. Number 3. Now we're going to stay here for a second, and on my texty slide, I'm not really thrilled with the texty slide, but this stuff is pretty important. This is, I think, the next step in kind of your evolution. And talking about the campaigns, I think is a nice segue into this, which is, okay, you've got 2,000 people on your Facebook page. You've got 4,000 people following you on Twitter. What do I do now? What do I do now with these people? So, as again, that's a very common question. Good content, good engagement is the key. That takes us back to number one, doesn't it? And how Facebook ranks stuff. When you begin to create content and create strategy, understanding that engagement matters and relationships matter, that really can help you in all areas of your online portfolio, because that is a common theme throughout all of this. And I think you guys heard me say it in the last online workshop, which is that great principles of marketing and relationship building haven't changed. It's only the tools we're using that's changed. And it hasn't taken the place of all the other cool traditional stuff. It's only augmented it. And they all have to work together. So how do you call them to action? Well, first, there's a little bit of make them crave your stuff. You've heard about websites being sticky. People have been talking about that as long as the Internet's been around, which is give them information that makes them want to come back for more. Your online social media communities are exactly the same. You want them to crave your stuff. They want to know, boy, every Tuesday and Thursday we're going to have trivia, and they have a great deal of fun with that. Or we know we're going to have a caption contest. Or they know that once a month they're going to have a giveaway. Or every Wednesday you're going to post a coupon. People love surprises, it's true, but don't we all tend to be a little bit creatures of habit? So make them crave your stuff. Try and be a one-stop shop. If you're a business, and let's just say that you're an air conditioning and heating business, then you need to be posting info about how to go out and caulk your windows to reduce your heating costs. That doesn't take away from you. It gives them something that they can use. If you're a pest service company, and I say this because we work with all these, and at first they were like, I only want to talk about my pest control company. I'm like, no, you need to give them that map. Have you seen a map? It's the bed bug map. And it's like bed bugs online or something, and there's some person out there who's tracking where all the bed bug infestations are. I love that map. So you plop it out there, and the people are able to see if they're having a bed bug infestation, wherever they might be going for their vacation. That's super. I mean, that kind of stuff are things that people look for. They know that you know what you're doing, and it makes it relevant and useful for them when they come back to your page. Posting your blog posts is just not it. You need to give them information that's unique to their community, meaning that not everything on Facebook is duplicated on the blog. Not everything on Twitter is duplicated on Facebook. Not everything on Facebook is duplicated on Twitter. You've got some unique content. All right, 2, ask, ask, ask. You saw that in number 1. I'll talk about it quickly here again. Is that you call them to action by asking them questions, by telling them what you want them to do, and by getting them involved in what it is you do. So let me talk about, just for a second, back to the pest control company as an example. What's a question I might ask them? It might be like, where do you think you should locate your firewood pile in your yard? Do you think it should be within 10 feet of your house, 100 feet of your house, 50 feet of your house? And then, you ask the question, they answer, you have a little poll or whatever, and then you tell them, oh no, it should be only within 50 feet of your house, no more than 50 feet of your house, because X, Y, or Z. Have you checked for entry levels where bugs can get in? So you give them great questions that they enjoy asking. Name that bug is another one of my favorite ones. Post a photo, name that bug. So, ask them to be involved, and people will respond. Because the whole point of this is that when the time comes that they need your product or service, or when the time comes that they want to renew their membership to your organization, or when the time comes that they need a plumber or want to make a donation, they think of you first. That's it. You can't think that you're going to post your content on Facebook or Twitter or a blog, and they're automatically going to call you up and, and want to buy $1 million $500,000 worth of your products and services. It's about creating relationships, which is number 3, creating a relationship. So when the time comes, you're front mind because they've been sticky, they've been engaged, they've enjoyed your stuff, and you've got a relationship. So be authentic and real. 4, and this is where the rubber really begins to meet the road in calling them to action. Every so often, give them a meaningful contest and coupons that encourages them to use your products and services. You can't give them a steady diet of discounts because then that will become kind of an entitlement, and that's been happening a lot, I think, with some folks with social media. So make it meaningful, make it relevant to a campaign that you've got ongoing, so it's not all the time, and then say, Facebook only special. One of my favorite campaigns recently was, it actually was an e-newsletter. And what we did is we had them go back over to Facebook through the e-newsletter, click on it, go back to Facebook, and then print out the coupon code there. And so that's a pretty typical way of doing it. And it actually not only drives, excuse me, drives people to your Facebook site, it was meaningful because that particular newsletter was about a specific event that was happening on a specific day. It was time-limited coupon on Facebook, and it was only for those Facebook folks, and they had to go to Facebook to get it. So at that point, you begin to call them to action. Let me just add one thing here for a second, which is that if you're constantly calling them to action, they'll drop off. They'll get tired of it. If for those of you who are nonprofits on the line, this is especially meaningful for you because, and I know that you're always in need, especially in this economy. I completely get that. We work with nonprofits. But a steady diet of we need you, we need you, we need you right now, right now, right now, becomes tedious on your fan group. So you really need to think strategically and create those individual campaigns that have the content and the activities and the assets wrapped around them. So that's just something for you to think about when you're looking at your editorial calendar and looking at that graph I showed you earlier about how your campaigns are going to roll out. 5, you call them to action because you're going to grab their info. Every Facebook page, every website should have opt-in. So asking them to opt into your newsletter, opt in for discounts, opt in for more information, opt into whatever. You know, get a white paper if that's the kind of thing you do when you're a technical person, or you have, you know, your IT companies are very famous for that. So give them opportunities to subscribe to your newsletter from every channel. There should be an opt-in on your website, an opt-in on your blog, an opt-in on Facebook. You should occasionally send out the link to opt-in from Twitter that sends them back to whatever page. So get their info, because there are other ways to call them to act, which is number 6, which is the nurture marketing. What do you do once you have them in there? Well, you can call them to act directly into the community, but if you can get them to opt in, then you can nurture market to them too, which means a value add e-newsletter, a reminder about the coupon. Those of you who might be thinking that email is passé and dead, it's not. It just has to be used wisely with a specific message, a specific offer, and it's most successful when you tie it back into, just like we're talking about here, you tie it back into Facebook, you tie it back into your blog, you tie it back into some sort of contest or Twitter contest. So when it has a specific message with value-add information and it's tied in with your other social media approaches, it really, really begins to again, move the needle for you. So you make them crave your stuff. This is an investment and takes some time. You ask them questions, you get them involved. They begin to establish a relationship with you, and then you begin to call them to act. Please opt in so you can get more coupons. If you like what we just posted and that was a great service or product for you, then you're going to want to definitely opt into our newsletter because you're going to get stuff, exclusive stuff that nobody else is going to get. By being a member of our Twitter community, you're going to get tips and techniques that you're not going to get anywhere else. And that's true for us. So, and we do it for our clients. So you need to do it for yourself. People on Twitter get tips and techniques and news articles that they're not going to find in our Facebook community, and vice versa. So take some time and put that editorial calendar together. Again, grab their info, get them to opt in when you can, and then 6, nurture market, which means reach out and touch them in multiple ways with value-added information. And I think that you'll see a big difference in terms of people's interaction with you, them asking you, them showing you buying signs, inquiring, visiting your website. But this is an ongoing approach. All right, we have about 10 minutes left, and so I'm going to sip my Diet Coke. All right, I want to talk a little bit, which is number 4, about content, and specifically sticky content, and where you can push your content out. And again, we've been talking about engagement and quality and writing stuff that's meaningful and engaging to your communities. So if you've written some fabulous blog posts, if you have some content that really provides value, if you are speaking at a webinar like I am today, or you've got some workshops coming up, or you're going to have an open house, I have a question for you. What are you doing with that information besides putting it out on Facebook? So think about that for a second. You've got stuff going on in each of your organizations. I know you do. I know you do. Who are you telling about it? And how are you telling them? Maybe you put an ad in your local neighbor paper. Maybe you did a little piece of direct mail. But most likely the answer is, well, you know, I put it on Facebook, we tweeted it out, I wrote a blog post about it, I put a flyer on my counter in my office, it's on the front page of my website, Lee, so you know people are seeing it there. And then maybe even you went on and you put a banner ad or did a radio spot. But did you know that you should be doing that much more widely? Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about here, okay? Exactly what we're talking about. Let's say that I'm going to show you a specific thing from one of our clients. And let me just say they're B2B, and they're very niche-oriented. They're actually in Minnesota, which is one of the reasons why I'm sharing it with you today. And they do manufacturing for railroad and locomotive folks. And so my theory is that social media can work with this type of industry, then surely it can work with you, because this is a very small market. It's in North America and South America. And so my point here is that when we started trying to really take a look at locomotive gear case seals, which is one of the primary things we've been focusing on, then we said, well, what other ways can we distribute their content? Because obviously their website, you know, we worked on their website, that's ranking well, but how else can we do it? And so I want you to think about other online outlets where you can share that good content. Most of you are only thinking in terms of outlets that belong to your organization. But I want you to take a look at this, because when we do a search here, you could pass their website. There are online press releases, this is a blog, online press releases, this is all them. Now this is not them. And this is not them. I thought we owned the front page. We're pretty close, So go out, and I mean, again, if you, for example, are in Douglasville, Georgia, you can go and post your content on the neighbor newspaper's website for free. So take your blog post, repurpose it for the neighbors. Go out to the patch. You've heard of patch, like Dunwoody Patch, Sandy Springs Patch, Atlanta Patch, woodstockpatch.com. Go out there, post it for free. There are free online public relations places where you can plop out your press releases for free too. Now, a lot of them are paid, but I'm telling you that there are a lot of other outlets where you can do it for free. Have you heard of merchantcircle.com? Merchantcircle.com? Again, they're going to try and upsell you, But you just need to take some time and go out there and look. You can actually set up your account for free. You can claim your business listing for free. And you can put in your blog post over here for free. So I want you to get creative. See what's online and available to you for free. And then you're going to be able to go out there and begin to share your content more widely. Let me just take one last look here. So you see Facebook, Blog Talk Radio, both of those are free platforms for you. That's iTunes. We're out on iTunes. This is a blog. This is LinkedIn. This is a free business directory out at BizJournal. So if you haven't gone out there and looked at those profile things, Vimeo, right? You know that? That's free. Let me just go on down. I'm just showing you. You can do listings out on places like if you're a web designer, on Web Designers. So you get my point. These are free outlets. You just need to consider what makes the most sense for you and then take your good content and more widely distribute it. So let's review because we have 5 minutes left. And I know that we may have a question. If not, we'll gather those, and I'll be glad to answer them later. First, we talked about how Facebook ranks your content, and I gave you some very specific tactical ways to help get your content more widely distributed on your members' newsfeed, which is the Edgerank system. That's affinity, weight, and time decay. Second, we talked about metrics. We talked about quantitative and qualitative in terms of some starter metrics and how you can take those metrics and begin to look at your campaigns individually and begin to say, oh, you know what? Look, I tweeted, and look what happened to the traffic, or whatever it might be. And then you're going to know exactly what content's working and what's not. It's a great starting point for you. Third, we talked about 5 key things to try and move your online communities into buyers. And all of that in our world really talks about relationships and good content, and then asking them questions, and then bringing them to action when you need them or when they need you. And then we talked a little bit about the fact that you probably have a lot of great content just hanging out. It's there. You have it. So help yourself by distributing it as widely as possible on these free outlets. That's a great start. Make sure you have good quality content that's consistently messaged, that's your editorial calendar, and push it out as widely as possible.